And welcome to another edition of Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 28-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games as a writer, artist, and illustrator. Today is Booktober, day 12 and 13. This is the day 12 episode. I didn't get to run an episode yesterday. I don't know if you just heard my cat cry. He was at the vet all day yesterday and was not doing well. He seems to be getting better now. He hasn't fully recovered from the anesthesia. He had dental surgery yesterday, um, but he seems to be doing a lot better. Um, and today was kind of crazy as well because, well, my dad had a doctor's appointment, so that's why I'm running a little late on this episode. It was supposed to be on about 10 minutes ago. He just got home and I had to help him unload his his wheelchair cart and stuff like that before I could start the episode. So this is the like I said, this is day 12. So let's go ahead and get straight into the reviews. We're going to start with GI Rambot #1 for $1.95. Publisher was Wonder Color Comics. The writer is Kevin, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Juare, maybe? I don't know. The penciler is Tom Lyle, who you probably better know as he did the Robin comics for DC in the 90s. He did Starman for DC as well. The inker is Don Drake. The colors are by Tom Vincent. And the genre is science fiction war comic. Sorry. Came out in April of 1987 rather. And what it's about, in the future, we've treated human soldiers to robots to fight our wars for us. And for this reason, war never seems to end because nobody ever gets hurt or dies that quote unquote matters. However, one human soldier, Rudolph Ram Stewart, decides to try to prove that humans should be fighting a fight, steals some armaments, and goes into a battle solo and wipes out a bunch of robots by himself and gets injured in the process. But the military are impressed with his resolve and introduce him to the latest technology, a robot with the human interaction that can change shape into whatever weapon or vehicle the human can conceive. Stewart steals this tech and is about to go on a one man crusade to end the war by wiping out all the robots. Our military leaders are actually for this, but the people who built the technology are furious. Why? Well, because they built one for the other side, and soon their duplicity will be revealed to all if they don't get this Rambot destroyed. Overall, it's an okay indies comic from 1980s. I got it because I recognized the early Tom Lyle art, and because this robot on the cover reminded me of a different property, the Friends of Fire, who were part of a Presto Magics type of product out of the UK called the Galactic Universal Task Force. I recommend the comic for 12 and up, and gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This is the um, thing that I remembered, and you can see why immediately I was thinking, hey, that reminds me of that. um, I was a huge fan of the Galactic / Universal Task Force projects as a kid. They were a Letraset. I don't know if you know what those are. They're images that you take a pencil. They're on this kind of paper that you run a pencil over it, and it rubs the image onto another piece of paper. And it came out from the Ideal Toy Company from a license that was someone in the UK, possibly 2000 AD. I don't know. Always wish they made a comic based on these type of characters, but they never did. And we'll revisit the Galactic / Universal Task Force on their own in their entirety, another issue down the road, or another episode of Quoth the Raven down the road. But this is the interior art for the comic. Here's some more artwork. And this is when Randolph steals the weapons and gets out there and gets in a fight, and he destroys a bunch of stuff. And he's like, "Oh, is it over? Really? Can't be that easy. I'm the only one standing here. I defeated everybody," but he didn't. Um, Eventually, he gets knocked out by something from behind, and it gives him a concussion. And he eventually they've introduced him to this Rambot now, and it's a giant robot that you can see in the bottom right corner, but it's pretty big, as you can see from the top left page. He's not even standing up to the edge of the boot on the thing, but he tells him, give an order, and he transforms it to a Land Rover, to a jet fighter. So they give him the instructions to figure out how to use it, and so they've got him in a place where he's got guards outside. He beats up the guards, gets into the hangar where the robot is, and steals it. He really doesn't even know what he's doing yet. And he's got a bunch of other fighter jets chasing after him, but he figures out how to get those people away and escape. And so the general is confronting the party that made the robot, and he's like, "Yeah, he may just go out and win the war, right? But so why are you so concerned about this?" And the reason is because they've given another model to the Russians, and that's how they end it for this issue of the story. It's a pretty decent story, for what it is. I've seen this trope done many times, whether it's done with robots taking the place of humans, or like in Edie Die from Paul Mazurik. The soldiers are undead, so to speak. They're dead, reanimated to make into soldiers. I've seen it done with Rogue Trooper over from 2000 AD. We've seen it in plenty of science fiction tropes where they do this sort of thing. So it's not that original, but I mostly just got it for the Tom Lyle art. Next book. Is Marvel Comics Presents number 18 for $1.25. Publisher is Marvel Comics. And there's 4 different stories. And the writers are respectively Bob Harris, Don McGregor, John Byrne, and Glenn Herdling. The pencilers are Ron Lim, Gene Colan, John Byrne, and Richard Howell. The inkers are Bruce Patterson, Tom Palmer, Bob Wyacek, and Joe Snott. And the colors are by Andy Yankus, Glynis Oliver, George Roussos, and Richard Howell. Superhero adventure / comedy, because one of the stories is supposed to be a comedy feature. And this was released in early May of 1989, apparently. Recommended for ages 11 and up. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's a typical 80s Marvel comic. And what it's about is there are 4 different stories, as I said. Now, one thing that bothered me was it says 4 all new features on the cover. Well, that should mean all the stories start new, but they don't. 2 of the stories are in part 2. And the first one is Cyclops Retribution Affair Part 2. And like I said, this hurts out of the gate because, I didn't get to read the first chapter. So, I feel like it's false advertising on the cover, but that's me. Apparently, Cyclops was attacked last issue by night visitors, whatever those are. And he and Shug Cassidy, also known as Banshee, are hunting for signs of them all over Mirror Island to no avail. Scott, Cyclops, believes that Moira McTaggart is somehow involved. We learn that 2 children have been infected by Moira, who has been brainwashed by the Mold Master Sentinel with this virus. And this virus will supposedly kill latent mutants whose genetics will eventually develop mutant powers. Frankly, this was a tired trope even back then. So I was not impressed much with the story as far as the story went. Ron Lim's art is solid, but the story is stale, and it would have been stale had I read it when it originally came out. Plus, I've never been a fan of Harris's writing or editing, or as it would turn out, him as a person when I had to deal with him when I worked at Marvel. But that's beside the point. But here's some of the artwork. Again, Ron Lim does some nice work here. Coloring's a little bit off in places, but okay. But whoops, sorry about that. There you go. There's the next page. And like I said, I don't mind looking at Ron Lim's art. This is not really. I don't know if this is early Ron or like. I'm trying to think because I think Ron Lim got in around 85 or 86, so he's had a few years of working in the small press before. But this might be around the time he was starting to get in at Marvel. So. And now the next one, next story is Black Panther, Panther's Quest Part 2. Again, that annoyed me. This time it happened to be more so than the Cyclops story did because all the action happened in the last issue, and this is mostly just an info dump segment, so it's really kind of boring. Panther got in a fight with some governmental thugs in the last issue. He's all tore up, he's bleeding out, and now the government is trying to make him out to be the bad guy in the media and make him public enemy number one on top of everything. And it's related to what was going on with apartheid in South Africa in the 1970s and 1980s, leading up to that point. When this came out in '89. Apartheid didn't end until I want to say maybe '93, '94, maybe in South Africa, if I remember correctly. So I understand what McGregor was doing here, but a reader just discovering this today, without any historical knowledge or reference, probably wouldn't be able to make heads or tails out of this. I'm sorry to say. McGregor, Colan, and Palmer, the creative team on that, do their usual level of strong quality work, but it's hard for a casual newcomer to get into. And here's some of the artwork. Again, you're not really seeing Black Panther. You're seeing the government official with one of the thugs that got tore up by the Panther, but the Panther also got tore up. They're announcing their plans to basically, say that the Panther isn't even a member of Africa, which he is. Of course, Wakanda is part of Africa, but they're hidden. So it's a weird thing. They're just basically denying his existence as a legitimate political party. And then here we go. You can see there's blood coming out of his shoulder blade, blood running down his arm, blood down the other shoulder. He's just bleeding out everywhere. And he's grabbing another guy that's supposed to be assistant helping him. And it's just, okay. Main reason he grabs him is so that the white soldiers don't kill him more than anything else. Otherwise, they would. Because, white soldiers versus black people in that time. Again, we'll go to the third story, She-Hulk by Byrne, Wyacek, and Russos. This is an 8-page advert for Byrne's forthcoming She-Hulk ongoing series, which came a little bit later. Frankly, it was lazy. Wyacek hadn't quite gotten the gist of inking Byrne fully just yet, and it feels a little bit rushed. And Byrne straight up telling everyone in the audience at the end of the story that you just read an 8-page advert as a blow-off explanation as to why the story was so shoddy. Well, that's kind of an example why people started disliking him and his work around that time. Boredom, yeah, JB, we're all bored too. At least the cover art by Byrne was nice. But here's the end of the Black Panther story. Again, you can see that once he takes his costume off, he's bleeding all over the place and stuff. But they're closing that off, and then it leads into the first page of the She-Hulk. And again, this is why I check him, and I get some of it. Um, but some of the line art is very it's not flat. It's some of the line weight needs a little bit more heaviness to it, I guess is what I would say, to give more weight to the character. Um, it's a little bit too similar in line weight and structure to me. And that's what I mean by when John sells boredom. That's what I'm saying, boredom. But anyway, she's supposed to be there at Christmas time. Doesn't have anybody to talk to. She calls up Thing, who's in his weird rock formation at that time, um, and all of a sudden, Doctor Doom bursts into her apartment, which isn't even her apartment. She's actually at a friend's place. Okay, whatever. Um, Whoops. Sorry. Let me get back to that in just a second. There we go. The rest of that story, Magneto jumps in and uses Doctor Doom as a weapon, or yeah, Doctor Doom's armor as a weapon. A few other things in there that just don't make any sense whatsoever. And then, now remember, she's at her friend's place, supposedly. But in reality, it was all her just talking on the phone with the Thing and imagining it in her mind of this whole fight between her and these villains. And she gets off the phone with the Thing. Well, I guess I'll open my Christmas presents. It's now after midnight. It's Christmas. And she opens up the Christmas package, and it's comp copies of her She-Hulk issue. Okay, whatever. So yeah, it was kind of hokey, but okay, whatever. It sort of give you a little bit of idea of what John was going to do on the regular book, I suppose. So it is what it is. Let's go ahead and go to the last part of that review, and that is the Willie Lumpkins Christmas Carol story by Glenn Herdling, Richard Howell, and Joe Sinat. And this is supposed to be a light-hearted joke story about how the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future visit good old Willie Lumpkin, the mailman, who usually goes to deliver the mail, the fan mail of the Fantastic Four at the Baxter Building. They visit him on Christmas Eve by mistake, thinking that he's the Scrooge they're supposed to make repent. Who they're supposed to be making repent is actually J. Jonah Jameson. But they somehow, the ghost of Christmas past lost the address or something. And he goes, well, I'll remember the address, and he ends up visiting Willie. And basically, these three ghosts make Willie's entire outlook on life terrible. So when his friends make a surprise Christmas visit at the end of the story, the usually chipper, happy-go-lucky Willie becomes a Scrooge and slams the door in their face. I get the point of the idea. I really do. It's meant to be a parody and everything. It's just not funny at all to me. It's more like taking a dump on a character who didn't deserve it to me. It's very sad. But as far as the technical execution of the work, it's respectably executed for what it is. Here's where they take him to the Ghost of Christmas present, and he's visiting his nephew and his nephew's wife and kid, and they're all like, yeah, Willie's like old and needs to be in a nursing home, because he tells all these stories, about the FF that he doesn't even know, or he just makes stuff up. He's mental, and he's like, what the hell? They don't even believe in me. They think I'm senile, old man. What the hell is this? And then they go to the future where he's dead, and Crystal is crying because the reason Willie died is because Lockjaw bit him and killed him. So, he's like, I died from Lockjaw. I thought that they had a cure for that. Yeah. I was killed by a dog. What is this? So again, like I said, it was kind of dumb, but it is what it is. Overall, I gave it a 3 out of 5 because it is, like I said, typical comics uh, of that era. Next book is Pitt, #1 from 1993. 195 cover price. The artist is Dale Keown. Creator artist is Dale Keown. Writer is Brian Houghton. The colors are by Joe Chiodo. The genre, I guess, is supposed to be monster as hero. I don't really know. I did not get this book at all. Released January of 93. Creator Dale Keown had been around about 7 or 8 years at that point when he put this book out, having done work for Aircell Comics and Marvel, most notably a run on Incredible Hulk with Peter David, when Image cajoled him into joining their ranks with this series. I'm going to be quite blunt. It's a horrendous pile of poo. The story makes no sense whatsoever. We start off in New York City with a huge-sized biker gang who is supposedly on a milk run out of Detroit. First off, the chapters of bikers gangs typically stay within their own turf unless they're going to major bike rallies, like Sturgis or the Laughlin River Run like. So no Detroit biker gang is going to be running around 50 to 70 members strong in the middle of New York City at 3 a.m. You goddamn morons. That just ticks me off. Anyway, Pitt appears walking around naked, all 8 to 10 foot tall, 1,000+ pounds of him. No biker gang is going to target someone that size, whether they're naked or not. They sure as hell are going to flee when he doesn't go down after the very first strike to the head. But speaking of this strike, biker gangs do not run around wielding katanas and ball and chain spike maces and other bullshit weaponry like that. You sure as hell are not going to drive your motorcycle swinging wildly and throwing your own balance off. So use some common sense. Anyway, of course he trashes this entire biker gang solo. Then he steals some of their clothes. Why? He couldn't possibly fit into them. And he steals a bike and hauls ass. How? He's too damn big to ride the motorcycle. So yeah, this is just plain stupid. And this is just the first 4 to 6 pages. It gets worse. Now we cut to this little boy, Timmy, who is dreaming about this whole fight in his mind. He wakes up from it. Only it's real. Okay, well, if a 10-year-old boy is dreaming this crap up, okay, then maybe all the mistakes you've made would actually make sense. But no, he's just seeing it all unfold in his mind for some inexplicable reason. And it's revealed that his parents were killed in Rob Liefeld's Youngblood #4, where Pitt actually makes his first appearance. Hold up. Hold everything. Are you freaking kidding me? Here's your introductory issue to the character and series, and the most important element of the backstory takes place in somebody else's comic that came out before this? Amateur move. There's other amateur moves in here. The female cop, that's one of the premier, going to become one of the regular characters, is a female cop named Bobby Harris, as some sort of homage to Bobby Chase and Bob Harris, the 2 editors who supported Keown at Marvel. But there's nothing special about this character. She's just a female. No big deal. They have another cop character named Smithers. Yes, Smithers. Now, I'm presuming they got that name Smithers from The Simpsons, because there's a scene in this thing that had where a guy is holding the Simpsons cup, coffee mug. So I guess that's where he got the name from. But I'm sure the criminals in New York City are shaking in their boots because Scary Larry Smithers, the Dirty Harry of Keown's World, is on the job. I gave up. I didn't even finish reading the book. Rippin' first issue. More like shred the damn book in the paper shredder and line your cat's litter box with it. That's about as good as it is. No, I'm recommending it. I'm not even giving you a rating because I'd give it a negative score. But let's look at this stuff anyway. The art itself is not bad. Keown's not a bad artist as far as his artwork goes. The reason I put this thing up with Jim Somerville is because Jim Somerville has a very important point of history with Aircell and with Image. And it relates to Robert Kirkman, and we'll get back to him in a moment. But that's why I put the the list of the credits in here. But here we are. Like I said, Vipers, Detroit chapter, making the rounds. It's a milk run. You get your kicks where you can. In New York City at 3 a.m., no. If you're in Detroit and you're visiting other cities, you're visiting Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Chicago. You're not visiting New York. I'm sorry. That's just not how that works. Here's Pitt walking around butt naked. And like I said, he's huge. Now, I guess they're right. They see him from behind and everything. I thought at first the bikers were underneath the bridge here and are running under, in the hole there, but they're not. They're behind him. Okay. But, okay. And look at the way his fingers are drawn. The way he holds his hands out. I mean, it's just this weird looking thing with the pinky hanging out weird. Like they're extra long pinkies with, I don't know. It's just crazy. But anyway, here they are hitting him with this chain with a ball pointed, spiky mace in the back of the head. Another one hits him with a baseball bat. Oh my gosh, he's still standing. I better go turn my bike around and do it again. Now he's destroyed these two guys that hit him first. Now, how many other bikers, when they see this, are going to be stupid enough to attack this guy? You've already lost two of your guys. He's just totally destroyed them. It's not too smart. I don't know about you, but I'd be turning my bike around and hightailing it back to Detroit. But no, they're going to get in this huge fight, 50, 60 bikers, and he's throwing bikes around, and he's throwing people around left and right. And he gets shot in the stomach with a sawed-off shotgun. And he just heals. Shoot him again. Shoot him again. And now the kid wakes up. He's in Connecticut. And now they've just explained that his parents just died. I mean, his parents, this is just happening. All this just happened, and he's dreaming all this just happened. And it's just weird, Okay. Now we cut back, and it says elsewhere. Not back to New York City. You can plainly see the Statue of Liberty there, right there, next to it. Elsewhere. Really? You just cut it back to New York City. Why would you use elsewhere as your caption? All right. Now they're introducing, the new Bobby Harris, detective extraordinaire, and she'll be assigned to the subway case. Hey, that's my case. It's not your case, Smithers. It's an NYPD case, and Harris is your new partner. And it's like, whatever. And now they're talking about this thing. Now remember, this whole event has just started taking place with them tearing up all these people. The cops are sitting here looking at the video footage from the subway attack, which already happened, whatever timeline here. We're going to send you over to the subway to look at what's going on. Nobody's reported all the ruckus of him destroying 50, 60 people. Shouldn't the cops be already on the alert and saying, hey, AP, dumb. But anyway, here he is, with pants on that nobody is as big as him. There's no way he would have pants. At least they had enough brains to draw a shirt that's tore up everywhere and it doesn't fit him because nobody has a shirt that's big enough to fit him. He's got chains all over him. I don't know where all these chains came from. I guess maybe Spawn made a guest appearance off panel and handed him some. It's just dumb. And I felt the same. I know I didn't even look at that book when I was 21 when it came out. I could see why some kids might like it who don't recognize what they're looking at. But I didn't even want to look at that at 21. Now I'm looking at it at 48, and I'm just like, oh my God, why did anybody allow to publish this stuff? But it was successful in its time, so oh well. That is our episode for now. And so if you want to reach me, you reach me at Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven, Quoth the Raven, Lewis Bright Raven on YouTube, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com on Gmail, or LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com. The regular weekly podcast airs Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, but I am doing the Booktobers every day for the month of October. And next week's episode, or well, not next week's episode, this week, our later episode today will be featuring these 4 books: Labor Force of Myths and Men, Wallywood's Thunder Agents, and Villains and Vigilantes. That's what we'll be covering later tonight at 9 p.m. if you want to come back and hear my reviews on that. So until then, whoops, there they are. Sorry, I thought that I thought the screen was showing it. There you go. So until then, have a good day. Hope it's been better than mine has been. But thank you for the like, not a king. There we go. And I gotta get my silly computer to work the way I want it to. There we go. We'll see you a little bit later today, not tomorrow.